Hey, Bonnie, welcome to the CEO Vibe Show. I'm so excited that we are finally meeting and getting to chat today.
Thanks so much, Haley. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I know we're going to be talking about, you said right before we hit record, passion and profit can coexist. And I was like, mic drop right there. Before we do all the mic drops, I want to go a little bit backwards and I want to say, okay, what do you do? Who do you serve? Like, what's your business all about so we can get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, so glad you asked. So I am a brand designer and strategist for creatives. So really like my heart beats for partnering with really talented, tenacious creative entrepreneurs to build beautiful strategic brands that really do reflect the heart of their life's work. But on top of that, I am an educator for designers and creatives. I am also the founder of the Loom Retreat, which is a 3-day retreat for entrepreneurs who are really striving to build a business from a clear place of profit. And I also just recently launched my own little podcast called the Brand Strategy Podcast. So I wear many hats, but as we were actually talking about before we hit record, I am a 2-wing 1 on the Enneagram. So if you're familiar with the Enneagram, my type is definitely the helper. And I definitely lean into that description so much of just being so hugely passionate about using my experience over the past 7 years of running my businesses to really pour into others and equip them and empower them to reach their dreams. And just like you said a minute ago, like I really do believe that your dreams, your passion, and profit can coexist. So I'm super excited to get to dive into that conversation with you more today.
Twos are my favorite people. I just have to say that. I love the Enneagram. I know we talk a lot about the Enneagram in the Profit Planner Lounge, but I'm obsessed. We have a mutual friend, Sarah Jane, and she runs is it Enneagram and Coffee? I think that's the Instagram handle, and that's what we are talking about. Yeah, obsessed with the Enneagram. I'm a 3, in case you guys didn't know already, which I know you probably knew, but yeah.
And it's so funny you say that because some of my favorite people are 3s.
Really?
So, yes, I know so many like hugely talented, driven 3s. And I just am always so inspired by them. They like are these amazing motivators. And I just always love a good 3 in my life.
Well, we're meant to be best friends then,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Done.
Okay, I want to go over, because we've really been talking. We talked a lot before we hit record. I'm sorry. You guys missed an amazing conversation. But Bonnie said something that really stood out, what we both were talking about. You know, you can have a streamlined and automated business, which is what we go over, like how to create a business that is simple and automated, right? That where you can serve who you want to serve, but also spend time with your family. But what I think is so powerful is, what if you created a business and automated it, but yet it still didn't give you purpose? And that was like a huge, because I've always felt like my business was my purpose. I've never had that out of alignment feeling, really. But I know some of you do feel that way. So that was like, okay, Bonnie, let's talk about this, because I think this is huge. So what does this look like? What have you seen other designers that I know you serve? You serve designers. What do you see this look like?
So I have a course for designers called the Brand Strategy School. And in that course, I get to work really closely with the designers who are signing up for that 5-week program. And I'm really seeing that they are kind of struggling with this idea of building a business that really allows them to connect with their ideal clients and create high quality, beautiful work that is based on clear strategy. And there's almost this disconnect between they see the vision, they can like visualize it so powerfully, they have a clear understanding of what they're chasing after and why they're chasing after that dream. But when kind of we have to start to like put one foot in front of the other, there's that disconnect between, okay, I know where I want to go, but how do I get there? And I think that especially with designers, it's really easy for us to get caught up in this idea of continually putting out only our best work. And a lot of the time, I think that that holds us back because we can become so obsessed with this idea of perfection, not just in the work that we're submitting to our clients, but also in the way that we're building our businesses and marketing ourselves and, scaling or streamlining, that we don't take action as a result of it. And that is where I just get sad to see people, who get kind of stuck in that mentality and that cycle. And I think that a lot of that lack of clarity comes from this place where we aren't necessarily leaning into the truth behind why we're doing this work that we're doing. And we are losing touch with the purpose behind the work that we're doing. Because I really do believe that, like, as we continue to build amazing businesses and do this work that we ultimately started out to do because we had that passion, we had that fire, that spark. If we lose sight of that, then it becomes this series of steps of like how to do this and how to get from point A to point B. And we lose that beautiful heart-based component that keeps us going kind of day in and day out. So I think that ultimately kind of leads us to this place of like discontent and burnout and putting forth work we're not proud of. And it's just not a good place to be.
I completely agree. And I know a lot of us, I started out as a freelance web designer and I started taking all these clients and I loved designing websites. Like it was a hobby, but whenever you go from accidental entrepreneur, which most of us service-based business owners are accidental entrepreneurs, we're just really good at something and then it just ends up being a business. And then we have so many clients, it burns us out and then we just lose passion. What I think is so interesting is, and this goes back to what we said before, like you're a 2 and I'm a 3. So what motivates you and what you find purpose in your business is going to be so different than me. And so I think aligning with that purpose is probably going to look different for every single person listening to this podcast. Like Bonnie is going to want to be able to serve people. If she feels like everyone in her audience is 100% served and loved, being a 2, that is going to make her heart so full and she's going to go to bed crying happy tears every night, right?
Literally,
but
yeah.
For me, it's like I want a big goal. I want to think of the future. I want to feel significant and change the entire world, basically, is my goal, is to change the entire world and how everyone thinks and make them better people, so that our world is like a happier place. So mine's like massive, whereas Bonnie being a 2 is more of a one-on-one, not one-on-one, but more of a, I don't know how to explain that. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I think that the way that I've thought about it is like when I think of some of the most incredible 3s in my life, they are really motivated by the idea of impact on this like very like wide scale, like the accomplishment and like a wide dynamic way. And it's so big and it's so bright and it's beautiful and I love it. But for me personally as a 2, I really resonate with the idea of impact like in smaller, quieter, more intimate ways. So kind of like that one-on-one idea or small groups of people, like that's where I really get fired up. Yeah.
Which is why your retreat does so well, because I have heard amazing things about that retreat. Like,
thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I have just heard about it this year, and people are like, oh my gosh, you have to go to this retreat. I was like, oh. And then whenever we met, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the person that owns the retreat. I like fangirled a bit.
You were so kind. I'm really honored to hear that. And actually, it's so funny. Like when I launched the Loom Retreat back in 2014, we hosted our first retreat in 2015. And I didn't realize it then because I wasn't familiar with the Enneagram then, but now like going back and looking at so much of my heart behind creating this really intimate, very different educational experience from what was really popular and what was really available in the educational industry at the time, so much of that really goes back to that impact in small settings, that kind of like one-on-one, like person-to-person connection where like we are able to understand you and your goals, what purpose looks like to you, and then equip you through the retreat curriculum to then go home and make that happen. But Haley, I really love what you said earlier about how even just based on our Enneagram types, our idea of purpose is going to look different to us. Yeah. And I think that is so true. And we forget that because I think that it's really easy for us, especially when we like live in this age of like totally beautiful, like motivational quotes on Instagram and, all this like positivity and you can do it. And if you have a dream, you can make it happen. Like all of that beautiful stuff. It sounds great and it's really encouraging and it can be super motivating, but we forget that purpose is going to look so different for each and every one of us. And, those dreams, like the dreams that your best friend has and you see her like chasing after on Instagram, they might look bold and beautiful and shiny, but they're probably, if you really dig deep, they're probably not going to be the same dreams that you have for yourself. And I think that we almost kind of get caught up in the like shiny thing syndrome, where it's not that we're chasing after so many different like things, but we're chasing after them for the wrong reasons of like, I want this goal because my best friend on Instagram is doing it and she's killing it and I want that too. Or I see this like big person in the industry who's built this massive empire doing business in this way and I want what she has. And so then we try to go and implement it and we're doing all the right things, but we aren't actually experiencing the kind of fulfillment that we want. And ultimately we're still hitting the same kind of like burnt out state because we're spending all of our time and energy chasing after a dream that was never ours to begin with. And so I get really excited when you said that, you know, like even just in this conversation, our idea of purpose is going to look so different. And I think that is a lesson that we need to just continually like drive home over and over again, because it's so easy to get caught up in what other people are doing and think that because it's successful and because other people are doing it, we should also do it and we should want it. But so much of the time that actually takes us further and further away from what we really want and like what that beautiful concept of purpose can look like in our own lives. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like, you know, as a web designer, let's say you see some influencer online that has a really cool Facebook Live show and you're like, ooh, that's what I need. I need to build a really good content machine and be an influencer online, and that's how I'm going to get clients. Well, if you're an introvert, that might not work for you because it's not that that's just a weakness. It's that you have a different strength. That's a lesser strength of yours. So your real strength is like what Bonnie has, the intimate connection portion of it, to where if Bonnie meets someone, people are going to love her and connect with her on a deeper level. So you might want to build up a referral program where people send leads your way. And that is, you're going to be a quiet machine in the background, right? Whereas if you are an extrovert, yeah, it might be great if you got energy from the video, but it's all depending on, I think, where you get. I'm really big on energy. So for me, I'm video. Like you put lights in front of me, I'm like, woo, jazz hands out, you know? But that's not everyone, but that's where I get my energy. So I know that I'm going to feel like I'm on a high after I do a podcast interview or after I talk with someone, because that's what gives me energy. But someone that might take away their energy. So if that's you, that might be I guess that might be subtracting from the purpose you're feeling. If your business is not built to give you energy, if your business is built to take away your energy, that just sucks. That's a really sucky scenario.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, you know, we can be chasing after like this big picture idea of purpose, but how we get there, like exactly what you were just saying, how we get there is equally important. So if it's in a way that is not sustainable for you, whether that's through your energy or emotionally or financially, it's like you're still chasing after this big, beautiful goal. But if the way you're getting there isn't actually sustainable for you, you're probably not going to get there. And then what was all that for? I don't know. I think that like when we start down that kind of road and we're chasing after this like big, beautiful vision, but we're not doing it in the right way, that can also be really detrimental. And so I really do love that you highlighted that aspect of it, because that can be an easy thing to just kind of like gloss over and be like, okay, I've got the vision. I know what I'm chasing after, like done. Like that's half the battle. Right. Now I just have to like go out and do it. And it's like, ooh, no, like there's still work to be done here. Like we still have some good work to do. But I personally, I'm the kind of person where I see a lot of possibility in all things around me. And so where some people might see a roadblock or obstacles, I acknowledge them. Like I never want to be like unrealistic, and I never want to just like gloss over like the reality of things, but I see the possibility of how we can navigate those roadblocks, or how we can find a better way, a different way to still hit the same goal, but maybe one that honors your energy source and one that honors the way that you, really experience fulfillment in the work that you do, whether that's on a large scale, a small scale. I think that we all can be chasing after something that's beautiful to us, whether that's like a massive empire or this like really small, quiet, very like cozy kind of business model. But yeah, we do have to kind of explore what that is. And that takes a certain amount of honesty with ourselves, I feel too.
Yeah, so let's say that Sue came up to you and like you and Sue are at a coffee shop and she's like, okay, Bonnie, started my business. I've been at it for a few months, but I really want a business that motivates me and gives me energy. What's my first steps to even find out that stuff? What would you say?
I love that question. I would tell her that I would really want to see her spend more time with herself, listening to herself. So I think that like when we're starting a new business, like we're kind of like in hustle mode where we know we have to do a ton of work. We know we have to spend a lot of energy, a lot of time. That's usually the season where we're working really late hours, starting early, ending late, like running on crazy amounts of coffee, that whole thing. And there's a reason why we do that. And I think there's a reason why we think that when we're starting a business, we have to keep our heads down and just hustle. So it's really easy for you, Sue, in this situation to like get caught up in that directionless hustle. But I think what ultimately would serve her better in that way is to kind of like pump the brakes a little bit on all the action and focus on taking herself out for coffee or sitting down and creating the space where she can really reflect, where she can be introspective, she can journal. Sometimes some of the women who I work with, they are external processors. So just like pulling out their phones and leaving like a voice note for themselves so they can like externally process even by themselves. Like that can be such a powerful way to really dive into what you want and why you want that. And when you think about your business, how do you want to feel? Not just where do you want to go, but how do you want to feel in that business day in and day out? And how do you want to make your clients feel if you're a service provider, or your customers if you're product based? Really tapping into more of what's within versus looking and absorbing everything that is everywhere else. Because I find that when we are like starting a business, we're absorbing, right? Like we're absorbing so much education and knowledge, and we're Googling everything. We're taking like all the webinars, all the courses, asking anyone and everyone who's done it before how they got there. But I think that when we do that, we unintentionally turn down the volume on the truth that is already within us of who we are at our core, what we want, and then how we can build a business that is honoring that sense of inner truth. So in order to do that, we have to kind of turn down the volume on all the noise and all the other things that people are doing, even if it's good and of value. The cool thing about turning down the volume on stuff is you can always turn it back up later. It's just like a little knob that you control. So turn down the volume on that, and then turn up the volume instead on yourself, kind of your inner voice of what you want, why you want it. Kind of having like an honesty hour moment with yourself where you're asking like, this path that I'm currently on, is that honoring what I really want? Like my truest vision, is that in alignment what I'm doing currently, or do I need to maybe make some changes and shift a little bit?
You word things so well. I feel like I stumble over my words sometimes, and I'm like, dang, girl, you say things great. This is so great. Totally. I think that, so I have definitely done a lot of work over this in the past year, especially with the Profit Planner Lounge being up, because I think that if you want to get to past $1 million, it is an internal game for sure. You have to make sure that everything is in so much alignment, and that you are impacting the people that you serve. So in order for me to do this, my first step was figuring out who I am. That's a big question. But if you like want to boil it down, I think the Enneagram, I know both of us have taken that. And Sarah Jane, if you go to Enneagram and Copy, that's a really great handle just to follow. But Enneagram test, it's free app. Go to Ennea app. That really showed me what motivated me. And that told me more about who I was and why I did the things that I did. And the wings helped me figure out, whenever I'm in an unhealthy Enneagram number, I go to binging Netflix and food for like 48 hours straight, and I just emotionally numb out, because threes have problems with emotional detachment, which is so me. So you figure out these things about yourself. So whenever I go through a bad period in business, let's say, and I find myself watching Netflix for 14 hours, I'm like, whoop, this is not a good habit. I know because I've taken the Enneagram test, something in my business is not motivating me properly. And so I need to figure it out and look at what this barrier is. I think the other thing is figuring out what your business love language is, like from your business to you. So for me, it's significance. I want to make sure that I am actually making an impact. Like I am actually significant to my customers. And I do this by looking at how we've transformed people's lives. Like Profit Planner Lounge member created a profit plan, had a 3-month paid maternity leave through her business and just creating a profit plan, like seeing people quit their jobs, their husband quitting their jobs, like that to me, I have a whole corkboard wall in my office of notes and testimonials that I look at every morning when I come in because that's what fuels me. So knowing what fuels you and then knowing how to use that fuel to drive your engine in the best way possible, the Enneagram test, sorry for the analogies if that was confusing. The strength is the fuel and then the Enneagram's the car that drives it. But that's what has really helped me, those two things.
I love that. I'm like over here, like all the praise hands, like yes, 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 so much yes. I absolutely love that. I think that as you're kind of getting to know yourself, that's this like beautiful journey that I feel like maybe we just as a society don't give that relationship that we have with ourselves enough credit, or we value it enough, where we spend our whole lives having access to the relationship that we have with ourselves, right? But it's, at least in my own journey, it wasn't until I really reached adulthood that I realized how much I didn't know about myself, and how like the Enneagram has been a powerful tool in that, but also just giving myself the permission to kind of get to know myself again and like kind of begin, restart that relationship and learn how through that I can care for myself best in life, but also in my business. And so I really think that is just, there's like a self-awareness to being a purposeful and profitable business owner that I think it requires. It's not something that you can sustainably just kind of walk into blindly. I think that being able to understand what motivates you, how you can care for yourself, how you define success, how you experience impact, those are all such beautiful things that can definitely be leveraged into your business. But also, honestly, I think it can make you a happier and healthier just human in general.
Yeah, like responding to situations in a non-angry way. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Human basics. As a child, I don't think most people as a child were taught to process emotions. And, in business, there are so many, and I've talked about this openly on the podcast, but as a child, I was never taught how to process emotions correctly. So whenever I went through a really bad period of my business with it was 2015 or I don't know, whenever. It was when I first started freelance web designing. And I was so overworked and I went to food. And then I would overeat. So being a 3, an Enneagram 3, I would emotionally numb out using food and overeat. And then I had a binge eating habit because I never processed the emotions of stress and frustration. It's like if I would have done the self-development work, I wouldn't have sabotaged myself. And I never had a successful business because I was too busy hurting myself with food. So it's so important on even just like a personal level of just like a living life and being a good friend and being a good daughter and a wife and a husband or, whoever you are, being a good one.
Yeah, be a good you. Yeah.
Be a good you. Yes. I love that. Thank you for this amazing conversation. This has been so awesome. And I want to say, Bonnie, I know we have a lot of designers, graphic designers that listen to this podcast. Bonnie is the go-to. If you are a graphic designer, you need to go stalk her right now. I'm not even kidding. Drop everything you're doing, even if you're working out. Stop burning calories and go stalk her. She's an amazing human. Seriously, of course, you know that by listening to this episode. But Bonnie, would you mind telling everyone where to connect with you and stalk you?
Absolutely. So you can stalk me on Instagram at
Awesome.
Bonnie Joy Marie. And you can connect with me through my website at bisforbonniedesign.com. And if you are a designer and you're interested in really learning how to leverage a proven strategy process to deliver incredible results through your design work and elevate your design business, I'd really love for you to check out the section that I have on my website specifically for designers. You just go to my URL, click education. There's a whole section of free resources, all kinds of goodies just for designers. You can also get connected with my course for designers, the Brand Strategy School, there as well.
Awesome. And, of course, as always, we will have these links in the show notes. So if you're right now, you're doing, if you didn't stop burning calories, that's fine. We will have all the show notes, the links in the show notes for you. So it's going to be a super easy thing. Just go to profitplanner.co/podcast and we'll have all of our links right there. So you can click on them all at one time and get your dose of Bonnie for the day. Okay. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I've loved talking to you.
This has been the best. Thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation, and I love how we've been able to dive into so much more about building a purposeful business and how to just be a better you. I personally love that, and that gets me so excited. So thank you so much for having me on.